Agent Power Huddle is a daily jumpstart, giving you all the tools you need to create an amazing real estate career. Led by top experts in the field, you'll learn how to sell more houses in less time while creating the life you want. Welcome to the Agent Power Huddle.
Oh my God, I'm like talking to you and I'm all muted. I'm brand new to Zoom, apparently. How's it going? Good? Okay. So we're going to have a conversation today about crucial conversations. Because right now, how many of you have clients that you need to have some really crucial conversations with? Or leads that you need to have some really crucial conversations with? People who are going to wait for home prices to drop, wait for interest rates to drop. People who are sellers who want to price their house at the top of the market. How many of you have people going up in arms, all crazy about all the media misspread about the NAR settlement? Right? There's so many, there's so much value in being able to understand how to have a crucial conversation. How many of you have ever read the book, Crucial Conversations? That really surprises me. We are a bunch of really relationship negotiation experts, and no one on this call has read Crucial Conversations. Okay, I'm going to give you some homework. I want you to all to go get that book. Because that book is incredible. Hold on, let me grab it. It looks like this. Well, let me unblur my screen. Don't judge my background. Crucial Conversation, Tools for Talking When Stakes Are High. How many can relate to stakes being high right now? Yeah. Okay, so I don't have anything prepared, but what I wanted to do is kind of go over some ways to have conversations with people. How many of you, and if you have in the chat, or you want to come off mute and you want to throw in some really tough conversations that you are going to have with people, I would love to know, because I'd love to help you work through the way to have these conversations. Because the thing that I think holds us back a lot is not being able to know how to present something to someone in the way that it's going to be received. That makes sense, what I'm saying? Because you can talk until you're blue in the face all day, every day, but if you don't know how to present it in a way that the person is going to receive it or hear it, you're wasting your time. And I get really, really frustrated wasting my time, really frustrated. And I learned this, so Wendy and I were just kind of talking about this just literally a minute ago. I learned this because I recently had someone come to me wanting some help with their business. And this person has talked to many, many, many other people before about different ways to grow their business. And I'm the type of person, I have lots of patience, and I like to try to coach people into making the decision themselves until I don't. So I don't know if any of you have ever experienced that with me, but when I lose my patience, it's done. And when I lose my patience, it becomes, look, the only person that's getting in your way right now is you. I cannot help you. I can't help you. And sometimes you don't need to hear that, but I'm going to tell you that particular conversation worked, because now that person is taking the actions they need to take to grow their business. So that's a prime example of being able to have the conversation in the way that people are going to receive it. So Crucial Conversations is a fantastic book. I'm going to tell you a couple of tips that I have learned from the book. And I'm going to it's really interesting that, I'm just surprised no one's read this book. One of my coaches, I was with Brian Buffini coaching when I first got into the business. And that was one of the first things that they gave me, because my big crucial conversation I had to have at the time was that I wanted to separate from my mom. Because my mom and I did real estate together for the first couple of years of my business, and I no longer wanted to be with my mom anymore. I wanted to branch out on my own, because I felt like my mom was actually holding me back from growing, as much as I love her. But that was a really, really tough conversation, and this book helped me. Crucial Conversations, Tools for Talking When Stakes Are High. I can't show you. Okay, but the number one thing that I learned in this is to learn how to master your own story. So, I love to teach content. I love to teach people how to tell stories. I love to teach people how to create how to basically create content that converts, right? But a lot of that really comes from mastering my own story. So I'm going to answer Andrea. She put a question in the chat. I heard we don't have to pay buyer's agents anymore. And why do you charge so much? I heard it will be free to list after July. I'm assuming these are questions that Andrea is getting from people right now regarding the NAR settlement. Okay. So here's the deal. Talking about mastering your story. Let's talk about that example. I heard we don't have to pay buyer's agents anymore. Let's master your own story. Do you, as a real estate agent, believe as a listing agent that you no longer will negotiate for a buyer's agent commission? Okay. So if you believe, if you go into a story when someone asks you that question, okay, what is the question again? Hold on. I heard we don't have to pay buyer's agents anymore. If your thought in your head is one like this, tell me, you can be honest with me. This is okay. Oh my God, I'm a buyer's agent. I'm not going to get paid anymore. Oh my God, why would I want to work with a buyer's agent anymore? Okay. If that is how you feel, I'm going to tell you something. When you have the conversation with someone asking you, I heard we don't have to pay buyer's agents anymore, that is going to come out. So you've got to master your own story. You have to be able to understand the things in a story that are yours and are controllable by you and the things that are not controllable. What's not controllable by you is what the media is saying, right? What's not controllable by you is everyone's fear. You can't control everyone else's fear. But what can you control in this conversation? I heard we don't have to pay buyer's agents anymore. What can you control? You can control your mind. Thank you, Jackie. Jackie pointed. You can control your mind. You can control your thoughts. So when it comes to having these conversations with people, what I want to recommend is before, like if you're going into a conversation about not having to pay buyer's agents anymore, this is a hard one for me because I just like, it's so foreign to me here in especially in my MLS because we have been negotiating buyer and seller commissions separately since October of 2019. So it's so foreign to me to know really like how to have that conversation because that's just the way it's been for us. So I can tell you exactly what I say. But what I'd like to give you a really good example of is price reductions, right? Or just to use an example, I won't give the person away, or having to extend a listing agreement. Okay, so she raised her hand. Okay. Those are really crucial conversations that you need to be able to have. And how many of you try to avoid those conversations at all costs? Be honest. It's really uncomfortable, right? Especially if you're the listing agent and you told someone, hey, we can sell your house at this much. And then you put it on the market and the market doesn't agree with you. The market says, nope, you're wrong. And then you feel like a little bit of ego, maybe, because you were wrong. A little bit of guilt, maybe, because maybe you made some promises in the front end that you can't deliver on. Right? I'm seeing some more heads nod so people know how this goes. Okay. So I'm going to give you a tip. When you want to communicate with someone and you want them to receive communication in the way that they will receive it, you have to listen more than anything. You have to listen and ask questions. We don't need to talk so much. Listen and ask questions, because when people talk to you, they're going to give you signs of how they want to receive communication. So if you ask a question like, okay, Joy, for example, because Joy raised her hand. Okay, Joy, here's what I think. Yeah, I think, how are you feeling? Like, we're going to talk about the price reduction conversation. How are you feeling about your house being on the market for 60 days with no offers? How does that make you feel?
Oh, not good. Not good.
Okay. Great. What's not good?
Well,
you're the seller. You're the seller. You're not a listing agent right now. I want you to be a seller.
I got it. No, it doesn't feel good because I want to get that house sold. I'm ready to do the next thing.
Great. Okay. Are you happy with what we've tried so far to sell your home?
I like that price. I think it's fair. I think it reflects what we put into the property.
Okay, so you've gone straight to price. Are you happy with the marketing efforts that we put into trying to sell your home?
Yes, I am. I see the house everywhere and people have come and looked at it.
Right. Are you happy with the feedback that we've received about the house?
Yeah, very.
Right. So we have great marketing because we have people coming in. We've had great feedback about the house, but are you happy about the number of offers we've received?
No, absolutely not.
Cool.
Why haven't you gotten me more offers?
Well, here's the deal. When it comes to listing a home, there's 3 things we want to think about because people buy for 3 things, right? They buy price, they buy location, and they buy features. Those are the 3 things people are buying, and all 3 of them have to line up. All 3 of them have to line up. So what I'm seeing right now is based on marketing, the features line up totally, and so does the location because people have come out to see it. Right? We have. You're happy with the marketing. You're happy with we've had showings. You're happy with the feedback. People are telling you that they like the features and they like the location. Okay. When it comes to having your home listed on the market, I'm going to tell you that really it all boils down to price. Price, features, location. Price, features, location. Those are the 3 things. Features and location are lining up. Our price isn't lining up. So we have a few options. Here's our options. Mm-hmm. We can keep our price the way it is, and we can try this marketing strategy and this marketing strategy and this marketing strategy, multiple options, or we can consider doing a price reduction. Because what's going to happen with a price reduction is this. Your price comes reduced. All of a sudden, your home pops up as being semi-new. Again, there's an activity we can show the market. We have to show the market that you want to sell. The only way to indicate to the market that you want to sell is to make an adjustment in price. Very different conversation than, oh my gosh, our price is too high.
Right.
The other way that I like to have this pricing conversation, or like we can talk about the commission conversation, like my commission. Okay, let's talk about commission. Let's talk about negotiating commission and having crucial conversations about commission. Does it make anyone feel uncomfortable when you have to negotiate your commission? It's okay if it does.
Not really.
On the buy side, does it make you uncomfortable on a buyer side if you have to negotiate commission? Mm-hmm. Because so far, up till now, your sellers have always paid commission. But if sellers all of a sudden going to offer 0% commission and you're on the buy side, are you uncomfortable having that conversation? Some of you know, cool, you're amazing. Let's come on and mastermind with me. Don't make me be the only one to talk here if that's not you. If that is you, I have some ideas. Your conversations with your clients when it comes to negotiating your commission, it needs to be very, very, very focused on the client and the solution. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to your buyer's agent commission, my buyer's agents, okay, here, I have the service package and I say, okay, here's all the services you can get. And here's what it looks like for you. And here's the options. Here you can A, B, or C package, low, mid, or upper level package. Here's how that compensation works. Washington State, sellers haven't had to pay a buyer's agent commission since 2019. So that hasn't been a problem in our market. Still, a lot of times the listing agent will negotiate that commission for you, which is great. If you agree that you want this amount, let's just go 1, 2, and 3%, for example. Okay, 1, 2, and 3%. If, for example, you want the 3% package and the seller is only offering to pay 2%, we have to discuss where that additional 1% is going to come from. And we have multiple options. If the seller is paying 0, we have multiple options. I think ultimately when it comes to having those conversations with people, the number one tip I can give you, or 2, I'll give you 2, is to control your mindset, as I've mentioned multiple times. And second, to ask more questions. There's another really good book I'll recommend to you. It's called The Secrets of Question-Based Selling. Mm-hmm. It's a fantastic book. If you haven't read that, read it. But don't read it before you read Crucial Conversations. Everyone needs to read this. Everyone on this call. Let me see if I can pull up the link for you. Everybody on this call needs to read Crucial Conversations. I will put the link in for you just so you can get it. But I'm telling you, this book has been a massive, massive game changer for me. Like as soon as I read it, I was like, okay, Because I think a lot of times we forget that a conversation is literally a two-way street. Literally a two-way street. And we forget that. We think the concept, like we kind of laugh. We're like, oh yeah, of course it is. But no, like literally it is literally two people. And the one who's leading the conversation should be doing less talking. So if you are leading the conversation, you should not be talking.
Right.
What should you be doing? Thank you. Listening. And when I say listening, I mean, don't listen and think about what your response is going to be. Don't listen when someone says, I don't want to pay commission. Don't think about what your response is going to be. Get out. That's a really hard habit to break, but we all do it. We all do it. Even me, who's like, I study conversations and I master conversations. Like that is the thing that I am like focused on, like being a master at is conversations. It's really easy to try to answer before we've actually listened. Y'all know what I mean? Like we want to just continue to ask those long-term questions because those are going to give us the direction for where we want to go. Shui, you have your hand raised.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And I wrote down one thing that I really took away because we have had those buyer conversations in our market for quite a while. But I like what you said. We have to discuss. I just like that. You said we have to discuss where that money's coming from, where that percent or whatever that commission's coming from. Because I think there's a takeaway there for every conversation. I like that we have to discuss. So I wrote it.
I actually think whatever does come of our industry, first of all, is much needed. I'm just going to put it out there. We need a change in our industry. We need massive change. It needs to be a little bit harder for people to have entry into real estate because real estate will become a much more professional career.
More professional. I agree with that.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I do have a conversation that's difficult, and this is where I'm sitting now with that particular listing. I talked to my sellers and we talked about a possible price reduction and extending the contract. Well, we didn't talk about that as much. We need to talk about that. I may have an offer coming in, or it looks like I have an offer coming in. I'll put it that way.
You have an offer in right now?
No. The agent told me, I'm showing again this afternoon to the buyer and his daughter. The agent told me that we should have an offer today. I know. I don't count on it till I have it. It's that agent to agent. This is what I'm trying to say. It's the agent to agent conversation where she's really trying to negotiate the price down. And I have run CMAs backward and forward. And if anything, we may be ever so slightly overpriced, but not a large amount. And so sometimes those agent to agent conversations are tricky for me because we were talking last night. I'll make it short. Sorry. Not enough coffee yet. And she kept wanting me to kind of put a number where, it could come in. And I said, I can't give you a number, I can't give you a number. The number my clients like is where we're listed. I can tell you, yes, we've had 5 properties sell at and above this price in this area in the last year. We've had, because that's a concern, like, oh, it's the most expensive one I can find. That kind of thing. So it's that agent to agent. That's what I'm saying. To me, that's the trickier conversation when the agent is trying to promote a lower price on my listing.
That's the easiest part of the conversation because they have data to back it up. The harder part of the conversation is to explain to your client why the other agent feels that way or why the buyer feels that way.
And that might come up. So yeah.
And the reality is when it comes to a price. Okay, this is what I tell people. Look, I don't set the price. And I'm sorry, seller, you also don't set the price.
Right.
The market sets the price. So when you take words out like I, seller, buyer, agent, blah, 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 and you say the market dictates the price. The market speaks. And the market has spoken on that listing. It's been sitting for almost 90 days. It has had multiple showings, multiple marketing efforts, and no offers. It is price. It is 100% price. That is the market speaking to you. Because I just said people buy price, location, and features. There's 3 things people buy and they all have to align. And the market has spoken and the market said, hey, our price is off. And so really, that's really what the conversation boils down to. The agent can give you her comps all day, every day. You can give her comps all day, every day. And really what happens is the buyer makes the decision.
Right.
And the seller can choose to sell or not.
Just give me an offer. That's what I kept saying.
Yeah.
Basically, just give us your offer.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just say, my response is always, look, go ahead and send me the offer. And I will like, ultimately it's up to my sellers. The numbers have to make sense for my sellers. And you know what? I have a listing that we just got 2 offers and a third one coming in, and we're under list price. And we've been on the market for less than three weeks, 2 offers under list price, and the sellers want more. And I'm like, well, the market's speaking right now. We've had 2 offers around the same value. It's what the market says. So like when you take words out like buyer, seller, agent, blah, 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 and talk about the market, you can't argue with the market. The market speaks.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Andrea, are you actually hearing? I heard it will be free to list after July. Is she here still?
I am here. Okay, so I have to confess, I was on a Tom Ferry webinar yesterday, and their whole, they make it seem like, and I like Tom Ferry, but he's like, if you're not doing this now, you're going to be left in.
Tom Ferry's never sold a house. I just want to put that out there. So
I know, and I haven't been buying into the whole fear thing, but it's getting irritating because I get all these emails. Greg Luther, all of these people. It's like, get out of my email. I don't want to block them because I do like a lot of their content, and I do think Tom Ferry does have some really good ideas, but everyone on there was like, oh, look at in Arizona, they're already listing at 0%, like 9 out of 10 are now 0. And it was just like, oh my God, you guys. And so these were the role play scenarios that they were playing out. And I put them up there because I was interested to hear your take on them. And then I did ask you lower down, like, are you in your MLS, in Seattle, have you been able to publish the buyer side commission?
Yeah, we were doing that back in 2019. Yeah, we've been doing it since 2019. Our MLS is not NAR affiliated, so I don't really know what's going to happen in ours.
Okay, that's the biggest, because I've been dealing with this whole question since January. I had one of my sellers, I sold 2 houses for them, was one of the original founders of I Pay One. Yeah, well, I met him in January, and he's like, I'm not paying more than 3%. And I got him up to 3.5% because he's like, I'm going to give you this other listing too. So I'm like, all right. And then he said, on that other listing, I'm going to pay you more because I feel like I need to make it up. But anyway, we ended up raising the commission on the first one because buyer's agents were just like freaking out. And I mean, anyway, I feel like I've been dealing with this for months now, even before the verdict came down or the NAR made their settlement, I should say. Mm-hmm. But, obviously I respect your opinion a lot. So I wanted to hear what you would say on those 2 questions. And
so the first thing is regarding the emails coming in, fear-mongering you. It's the exact same thing as the media fear-mongering the consumer. So just think about it like that. Like ultimately, yeah, you can buy into that. But the reality is the industry is going to change. So you have 2 choices right now. Your choice is to adapt or to get out. Those are your choices. You can adapt or you can get out. Hopefully you want to adapt, because those of us who adapt are going to propel, and those of us who get out are not going to. And I can share this 100% because when the mortgage industry crashed in 2008, yours truly was doing subprime loans. That was my market. I did not adapt. I got out. Took me 12 years to get back into the industry. So I did not adapt. So there's going to be a lot of people who will not adapt. So here's the thing. If you want to list a house for free, that's not up to me to tell you what to charge for listing commission. I personally would not list a house for free. Okay. I think ultimately it's going to come down to how you present the conversation. It's all about presenting the conversation. How are you going to present the conversation? Look, seller, if you don't want to pay buyer's agent commission, you don't have to. And this is what I say. I'm like, you don't have to pay a buyer's agent commission. You don't have to. You're not required. And their question to me is always, but if we don't pay a buyer's agent commission, is that going to eliminate the number of buyers that come in our door? That is always their question.
Yes.
And I say, well, I mean, likely, because if there isn't a commission paid, it is likely that some buyers, and I always put it like this, like, look, I tell my client at the listing appointment, I'm like, who is your buyer? Depending on where we're at, there's a lot of VA and a lot of FHA. So I tell them, look, your buyer is likely going to be a VA buyer or an FHA buyer. That is likely what we're going to get in this market right here. So if we eliminate that buyer's agent commission, you're eliminating 50% of your buyer pool. Because the likelihood, it is just VA and FHA typically don't have as much cash. And a lot of conventional 3% down don't have a lot of cash. So there's a lot of buyer pool being eliminated. So I just let them know the pros and cons. Yes, you will. Yeah, you could potentially save money. And yes, the buyer's agent can negotiate into it. There's a lot of different pros and cons. You got to weigh the options. So when people say, I heard it will be free to list after July. Okay, cool. I'm not going to list for free. So you guys can have those free listings. I'll give them to you all day, every day. It's not going to happen. I don't work for free.
I think they were saying buyer's agents will be free. Like after July, we don't have to pay the buyer's agents anymore. Like,
yeah, that's literally not what the settlement says, just so you know. It literally does not say that.
Oh no, I know, but that's what people hear.
That's what they're
It's
saying.
like,
You're right. They are trying to fearmonger. They are trying to get you to buy into their coaching program. Okay, that's what they're doing. And don't get me wrong, I also have a coaching program, and I also think this is a great time to invest in coaching, because if you don't have systems in place to get you through this next change, you could be one of those who's not going to adapt. You could be one of those who's going to get out, right? So I do think this is a great time to invest in coaching. Mine or anybody else's. I don't care. I think it's a great time to invest in coaching if you're not already investing in coaching. But when we're using the headlines like, no more buyer's agent, blah, blah, blah. Do you guys follow Jared James? You should follow Jared James. If you don't, he's an awesome person to follow. He's fantastic. He has a Jared James advance coming up in September in Orlando. I'm actually considering going because Jared James is awesome. He's on Instagram. I love his content. And I will tell you, Andrea, if you want to follow somebody, a coach, a real estate coach that actually speaks the truth without fear, I would follow him.
Jared James?
Jared James. Yeah, he's really good.
I will.
So I would say, like, you just gotta like cut out the noise, get rid of all of that. When Andrea was talking about all those things coming in, Wendy's like, block. I just block it. I started unsubscribing from all things. I don't even care. The only emails I really read anymore are coming from NAR. Really? Because that's really the only place I'm really listening to when it comes to anything like this. Because the reality is, like, even if you go to like Realtor.com or Redfin or wherever else you get your real estate industry news, there's all going to be a bias, right? And NAR, of course, is going to be a bias toward NAR, of course. But you can actually see on there the actual facts. So that's the only news source I'm listening to when it comes to this whole thing.
Yeah, it for me, it's more just what the public's perception of it is so skewed and so, I'm sorry, off base. Yeah, it's
what?
Off base.
Like, so much content to create right now. How many of you do a newsletter, like a weekly e-newsletter? Okay, my e-newsletter going out next week is all about the NAR settlement. How many of you are on YouTube? Okay, you should be putting out content. If you've been through my Instagram course, you should be putting out content about this right now. This is where it should all go. Wendy's like, I don't want to talk about that. But the reality is, first of all, let's talk about why you should be doing it. Because everybody's asking about it. I had a past client of it a couple weeks ago, and you know how many of my past clients were like, okay, so how are you affected by this whole NAR settlement? Literally every single person. I had 45 people there. I had 45 conversations about it in one day. And by the end, I was like, I wanted to like get up on a loudspeaker and just like have okay, everybody, this is how it's affected, right? I literally wanted to just make an announcement. So right now, as much as Wendy's shaking her head, I don't want to make content about that. You should be doing content about it because your clients are wondering. Even if they're not asking, they are wondering. And if they're going to anywhere else, like Andrea was saying, like for real estate agents going to the top, like I shouldn't say that, going to the coaches out there who are pushing, who are fear-mongering, it's the same. It's the same. I mean, I was like, the other day, I was curious. I'm like, what do all the news headlines say? Because I don't actually watch the news. I don't actually know Like I've never actually seen anything on the news about this because I don't pay attention to it, but I did search. I wanted to know. And actually, let's just do a search real quick because I do want to know, like, what's the search capacity on this? NAR settlement. So I was like searching. I just wanted to know like what people are saying. Because it was like, makes me more prepared to have conversations, first of all. Okay, so realtor lawsuit. Let's see. If you do a search, it is right now, you are getting, like right here, New York Times, powerful realtor group slashing commissions, right? Like slashing commissions, okay? We even had a prominent political figure in our country come up and say, for the first time, real estate commissions are negotiable. Okay, newsflash, they've always been negotiable. Okay, so like this is the time when you should be being that resource for your clients. Whether or not you want to do the content or not, you should do it. You need to do it. Wendy, do it. Because the reality is like your clients really want to know from you. You are the expert and you want to give them even more reason to pay you a commission, whether it's a buyer side, right? I have a lot of buyers right now and buyers are like these buyers coming in like, oh, how does the commission work? I mean, they're asking me now. It's great. I'll be honest. These crucial conversations are becoming so much easier because they're asking me like, oh, how does your commission work? How do we pay you? And they're like sitting there like calculating numbers. Like, okay, so if it's 1% in this, if we're paying you 2 and the seller's only paying 1, so we have to come up with an additional 1%. And they're sitting there running the numbers. They're like, okay, so that's going to be, $10,000 or whatever based on the purchase price. Okay, we can do that. We can pay that. That's fine. Of course, we would prefer to, try to negotiate that with the seller, but we can pay that. So we're good. It makes the conversation so much easier. So I'm actually kind of thankful for all of the news because people are bringing it up to me. Right. And I must be like, have you heard about the NAR settlement? No. What are you talking about? Right. So but you really should be putting out that content because people do hear about it. Like even people, my signed listing agreements are asking me right now. Okay. Joy had a question.
I always have a question. I've been avoiding creating content around it because I'm just not sure where to go with the messaging. And I think what you said, yes, we do need to do it because everybody's asking me. All my networking groups have asked me to speak about it. And I've spoken about it a little bit. And I try to say, basically newsflash, we could always negotiate commissions, always on both sides. And some people say, oh, I didn't know. But I don't really know. I don't want to step in it. You know what I mean? There's so much misinformation out there that I just want to be really careful to be positive in the messaging and say it in a way that's not too jargony.
So in my messaging, like I did a couple pieces of content on it. I can try to find them and share them with you, but I'll share them in the Facebook group. But my messaging is like, so we've actually been doing this here in Washington since October of 2019 when the Northwest MLS decided that they wanted to disclose buyer agent commission to have full transparency on the buyer side. And at that time, they made it to where sellers, like it's no longer lumped into one commission. So it's lumped into 2 different commission slots. So sellers get to choose how much they want to pay on either side. So it's like, that's kind of how I address it with how our MLS has handled it. And then the other thing is like, share the facts and also share your opinion. Like I just told you, my opinion is that the real estate industry needs a massive change. We do. And every single one of you agreed with me on that. So I know you all feel the same way. And if you're afraid to share that with your audience, that's where I think that you're going to miss. Because you know what? Here's the deal. I think it's way too easy for people to get a real estate license and get into this industry. I think you have people who come into the industry and think it's easy to make money and they dilute the professionalism of people who are professional real estate agents. That's my personal opinion. And so that might piss you off. I don't care. Because it's true. It's how I feel. And the reality is that your opinion, your clients need to know that, look, this is going to be awesome for our industry. It's going to be great. I actually think this is going to be fantastic. is going to allow us to have much more transparency, right? It's going to allow sellers to have much more transparency. I think we might see a difference in home prices. I don't know. But ultimately, I think that based on what we've experienced here, realtors, the professional ones, we're going to all band together. And those of us who are really strong and care about the other people in our industry are still going to try to negotiate a buyer's agent commission until that is not made allowed.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's still going to happen. That's sure what happened here. Linda says, my concern, it reduces what a person can offer. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's going to be there's a lot of things that we can't control, Linda. That's a very valid concern. And how to overcome that one, we're just going to have to adapt and see what happens. Because yeah, that is valid, that people, it's going to reduce purchasing power. There's a lot of things that we just don't know. We just don't know how it's going to affect us. So right now we can choose to freak out about the future, or we can modify our business plan, modify our offering, modify our value proposition, and be professionals and really adapt as we go along, because we're going to figure it out. It's all going to get figured out. It is. Like, how many of you believe that? How many of you believe it's all going to work out? It will. I don't know the answers to how, but I'm not the doer. I'm not the doer. I'm the visionary. Okay. My vision is that it's all going to work out, and I just trust that it's going to get there. Someone just had their hand raised. Zan just had her hand raised.
Yeah. Thanks, Lynea. I love what you're saying about the professionalism of the industry, because I think the ability to survive in this industry is very different from passing a test and getting a license. Mm-hmm. That said, I'm still a very new agent. I've been since for a month and a half. Now, coming from my background in sales, though, I have always created options for my buyers, they were always buyers. But you mentioned, different ways that you would approach your commission, 1%, 2%, 3%. And I'm just kind of curious moving forward, if you are kind of directing them towards set packages or kind of negotiating into those numbers in that conversation. Is that one of those courageous conversations, or are you like printing out a template? Here's what you get for 1%, 2%, 3%, just as I kind of move towards my first transaction?
Great question. So in our buyer system that everyone gets sent prior to actually getting on a phone with me, everyone gets a copy of our entire buyer system, which includes every single service pack, every single service we can provide. Okay. Some of the services you might want to think about as a buyer's agent. It's not the intent of the conversation, but I'm just going to say it real quick. Some of the services you might want to think about as a buyer's agent is finding off-market properties, circle prospecting, door knocking, right? Community outreach, networking, right? There's a lot of things you might want to think about, and you might want to consider, is that a more work for you than posting on the MLS or just setting up a search on the MLS, right? Are there some different things that you do on the back end or during a transaction? Do you have a transaction coordinator, or are you doing it yourself? Different things, right? Those different things. So what happens is, once we go into the whole system, I basically ask them, okay, so which of these services are you really excited about? Crucial conversations. I'm just asking questions.
Yeah.
And they're telling me, oh my God, I could love that you can go door knock a neighborhood. I love that I can take a picture and give you an address and you're going to find a seller in that neighborhood for me.
Uh-huh.
I love that. Cool. That's not a low package. That's a lot more work, right? Because it's more money we have to put into it. I have to pay somebody to do the circle prospecting for me. It's a lot more planning into it, right? So I'm like, great. You want that? Cool. So that's included in our deluxe package.
Yeah.
And here's what that looks like. So that's what I would think is like brainstorm. If you want to think of a way to kind of set those service packages now, do a brain dump of literally everything that you think you can do to help someone find a house. Like be as innovative and as creative as you can. Ask Wendy for ideas.
Thank you.
And then separate those and kind of like evaluate those based off of like time, resources, energy, right? And then put those into a package is what I would say. And I don't, just like my listing packages, I don't present those prior to the actual appointment, right? But it makes it easy when someone asks me how much I charge on the listing side. I'm like, look, we can list your house from anywhere from 1% to 6%. It's variable. You get to choose. That's a great thing. You get to choose. And they're like, oh, okay. And so then we go to the listing appointment. They're like, okay, so what do we want? And I would go through all the cool services we can do. And then that's when they decide on what they want to pay. Does that help, Zan?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Awesome. And that background in sales is going to come in really handy in this market. So that background in sales for sure, because like right now, sales is all about relationships. It's all about conversations. Like you are the best salespeople know how to have best conversations. So that's going to come in really handy. Andrea.
Okay. Two things. First, is your commission menu thing, is that in your Notion thing?
Not the buyer side, no.
Not the buyer side. Okay. Are you going to be putting that in there at all for the people that...
Potentially. Right. Potentially.
Okay. Thank you. And then the other thing too is I was talking to my manager last week because I love my manager. I was talking to him all the time and he's like, I think that there's going to be a period of time for about 6 months where people just test the market. They put 0% in for the buyer's commission and then they realize, because that listing I had, the I Pay One guy, I listed a house around the corner. I had the discussion with her. She happens to be an appraiser by trade. And she's like, oh, I don't want to, I'll pay you 2.5, but I'm not paying the buyers. But she did list it at 2.5 for the buyers because I said, around the corner, what happened is we didn't get any offers, and that house closed for $975. Her exact same home that's not even as nice is going to close for $1 million this week. And so I was right. I said, you're going to get much better offers if you offer to pay the buyer agent, because buyers will self-select out. It's not just greedy agents. But anyway, he said, I think we're going to have a period of time where the market is really tested. And then it'll kind of go back, to them offering commissions again when they see what happens. When they see all the buyers that say, I love the house, but I can't, if you're not going to pay my agent, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to pass. When their actually offers are falling away because they get asked to pay in an offer, because in California, it can go on the RPA now. And they won't budge. And the buyer says, okay, well, I'm out now, So anyway.
Yeah, I think we'll probably see a slowdown in the market for a while. Like if I'm going to predict what I think is going to happen, I'll put some courageous, bold predictions out there, and I could be completely wrong. Who knows? But I might also be right. I think we're going to see a slowdown in the market more than we already have. So I think this year is going to be pretty challenging for a lot of people. Just because I do think that Andrea has a point. That if people choose to not offer that commission, I do think there is going to be a decrease in demand. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, I think that depending on how it works, we will start to see a slight reduction. We may start to see a slight reduction in home prices depending on your market. I don't know if that's going to impact here as much, or markets that have been doing kind of the way we operate for the last 5 years. I don't know if it's going to impact as much, but in those markets of yours where you've always lumped your commission in one, like let's pretend it's 6%, right? And you're like, okay, it's 6%, right? I do think that we might start seeing some reductions in home prices there. Mm-hmm. Or you're going to see homes start to sit for longer because people still want to sell it at that top price without including the commission in there, so they can net more money. And we're going to start seeing those houses actually sit for a little bit longer. Those are those are the two things I think will happen. I also think that toward the end of the year, last year, was it in August or September, we saw 60,000 agents leave the industry. I think we're about to see another flux of agents leave the industry. But I also think we're going to start getting some really good ones in right now. Like the people that are coming in the industry right now are coming in at a time where you are going to have to learn to set yourself apart real fast, right? Then those of us, I'm going to be honest, I got in the industry in 2018. What happened to a couple of years later, right? So I might be one of the lucky ones who came in at the right time. But those of us who are getting in, those who are getting in the industry right now, I think we should, all of us who've been in the industry for a while, should make sure that we step up, because the ones that are coming into the industry right now are going to automatically step up. Like Zan's a prime example. She's already on here a month and a half in the business, and she's like, okay, I know this is a time, like I'm coming into the industry when we're seeing some massive changes. And I bet you that her service proposition is going to excel. So all of us who have been in the industry for a while, who've gotten a little complacent in what we do, we're going to have to watch out for the new, I shouldn't say watch out, but we're going to have to keep an eye on the newer agents that come in, because they're coming in at a time when the industry is not easy. Mm-hmm. So those are my predictions. And that's all. Oh, Open Door is to pay $62 million for misleading home sellers. Turns out many people that have sold their home for more than what they sold to Open Door. Who knew?
Right?
It's so true. Okay, you guys, we went way over time. Next week, I have a super, super, super special guest. I don't know if any of you saw my story. I was featured on my Money Coaches podcast this week. Really excited because she has absolutely changed my entire mindset around money. And I've asked her to come on and speak to all of us. She's going to give her tips for building wealth with inconsistent income. And I thought that speaks to all of us, and it's super, super valuable. So please invite people because she's amazing. Her name is Jermaine Foley. You are welcome to go look at her already. Jermaine with a G, Jermaine Foley. I'll put her name in the chat. But she's going to come and give us her tips for building wealth with inconsistent income. Who needs to hear some tips about that? Let's be real. We all do. And like I said, she's been phenomenal. So please don't miss next week. It's going to be probably I know we've had some really good guests this year, but I actually think she's going to be one of the best. And then after that, we have Ashley Herman. So we're excited to see Ashley. Ashley's going to come up and talk to us about vacation homes. So, okay, everyone, I will see you next week.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.